Thank you for pressing the record button. We're going to be recording today's session. We're going to be putting it on our website. So for those who are unable to make it, but also you might find it beneficial yourself to watch the replay and to catch up on some of the things we've gone through today. Okay, so it is 1 minute past 7. I am going to get started because we've got quite a lot to get through this evening, and I want to give us time. I don't want to have to rush through. So I'm going to get things started. So I'll say welcome again to everybody. It's such a pleasure to have you here, and Happy New Year. My name is Atlyn and I'm the CEO of Communicate Inclusively, and I guess the inspiration behind Navigating Crossroads and the community of Black women that we've been bringing together over the last 12 months through our Navigating Crossroads series. So it's a pleasure to have you here on a Wednesday evening. I'm not sure about you, but the year has started off, with a bang. And I was feeling very relaxed and zen at the beginning of the week. That's starting to ease off a little bit. So I'm not sure how your week is going, but this space is for you. And so I want us to take a minute just to, I guess, drop your shoulders, to relax, because this is really about, rest, reflect, and rise. I want you to take, this hour for yourself. It's not about productivity, although I would normally say things are. This really is about you, because I find that so often we move straight into fixing and doing, and I am definitely one for that. But today, it's really about pausing. It's about, thinking about yourself and what is important to you. It's about the rest, the reflect, and the rise. So do take a deep breath before we get started, and then, we can kick things off. So whilst you are resting and reflecting and taking a deep breath, I'm going to share a bit about myself, and then we're going to move into you thinking about yourself and writing lots of notes. So if you haven't already got a notepad and a pen, please do go and get one, because you're going to need it. And forgive me for touching my glasses. I've just started wearing these glasses. I've had them for a little while, but I guess my vanity has prevented me from wearing them. I thought I didn't need them, but I do need them. And so today, I guess, is my first time wearing them for a webinar. So I'm touching them more than I should, I'm sure, when I get used to them. They're not for every day. They're just for me reading. And so because I need to read what's on the screen, I thought I'd better wear them today. Okay, so I'm just going to share, as I said, a bit about my journey to feeling confident, and how I guess I practice confidence, because it's not something that I think anyone is born with. And I think no matter how confident you are at any one time, it can dip. It's a roller coaster. And, for me, I could certainly say that throughout my life, I have had times where I haven't felt confident at all. But I've learned, over time, I guess with age and with experience, really, to practice confidence. So it could be like things that have happened to me throughout my life, my childhood, my teenage years, through my career, my leadership roles, starting a business, being a mother, being in relationships. You have moments of doubt, but you also have moments of growth. And so throughout all of those journeys, I would say that there have been times when I haven't felt so confident. But right now, today, and over the last, I'd say, year, I have never felt more confident in myself. And I feel it could potentially be around, age and experience. I will be 50 at the end of this year. I've got 12 months of being 49. But I feel that has got something to do with it. But I would love to short circuit the confidence that people have without necessarily having to feel like they have lived for 50 years before they can feel really confident. And so, this is what this session really is about today, not just the confidence, but the clarity that it can bring. And this is a superpower, I must tell you, because right now, the way I feel like I can do whatever I want to do. Nothing is ever going to stop me. Okay. And this is really down to the confidence that I have. So I'll just tell you a little bit about my life, and where I've been and where I've come from and where I am right now. So I started life in South Kilburn, and those of you from London may know it. It's a council estate. It hasn't got a very good reputation. And I lived there with my mother and my brother and my stepfather, and we lived in a block of flats. And then at the age of about 9 or 10, my mother and my stepfather bought a property in Bedfordshire and we moved. And at that time, it was, I didn't feel great about it. I had my family, my gran, my aunt, my cousins. We were a small but very close-knit family. And so we were being taken away from that. And also within the community, we had our church very close to where we lived and everything else, a very diverse community as well. And so being moved to Luton, it was a bit of an upheaval. But we had a beautiful house. I had my own bedroom now, so that was great. And I was in a really good school. I was now in the minority in terms of, race and ethnicity within that school. But I did feel a sense of belonging because within my school, I was good at sports. I was tall for my age, and I was encouraged to join the netball team. And this became a really great community for me and a strength of mine. In fact, I still play netball to this day. I've been playing netball for 40 years, which is quite shocking when I think about it. But it has been a great thing to know you're good at from a young age. And I was always very good at it. I played for my county, I played for the school, I played for the trials for England. I didn't get to England, but I did the trials. So that was a way to boost my confidence. And I think it is really important from any age to feel that you are good at something. And we're going to talk about that later in terms of leaning into our strengths and being aware and being proud of what we're really good at. And so that really helped me kind of growing up. I was also quite academic. I was quite intelligent and I was very driven and ambitious in school. And I always knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to, get into magazines. I used to read a lot of magazines. I wanted to be an art editor. I was very creative. And so I went through school. I did very well at my GCSEs, did very well at my A-levels, and I went to university. And everyone in my school was encouraged to go to university, more or less. Some didn't, obviously, but it was the thing that everyone did. I think that was a very good grounding as well, that the expectation was there. And but I moved back to London. I kind of had this realization that I had never fully settled into Bedfordshire, as it were, into Luton life. My brother had, he was younger than me, but I hadn't fully immersed myself. I was there for my netball and for my education, and those two things, meant a lot to me. But in terms of my social life, that was in London, and I used to come to London every weekend. And so the first chance of being able to have my freedom, I went to university in London. I never went back. I left home at 18, and I was a very independent young woman. I thought I knew it all. And, I did well at university and I got a job straight out of it. I had a job throughout my whole of my university life. And I guess I was always very strong-headed and knew what path I was going to be on. And I think that stays with me to today. I guess in terms of, things that have knocked my confidence, I feel like my work life had always been very important to me. So I got, a good job in publishing straight out of university, and I worked for magazines for a few years. Then I got into marketing. But what I found is that early on in my career, I got made redundant. And this really knocked me because my academic achievements and my job were part of my identity. And I don't know if any of you have experienced that, but that was a big knock. I was lucky enough to get a job, this was way back when, quite quickly afterwards. So I felt boosted because I had the money that they paid me when I got made redundant, plus I had another job. But I realized then that my work life was very important to me. And, I continued to be very ambitious. I had my children, I had my first daughter. That relationship didn't last. So again, that was always something that I felt a lack of confidence about. When people would say, oh, my husband, this, and I had a daughter, but I never had a partner. And so that was a thing that would knock my confidence as well. But later in life, I did get married. And that was great that I could say I had a husband alongside having two children then at that point. But then we got divorced. And again, it's like a case of, oh, you've got two children, but you're divorced. So again, that would always be a thing that would knock my confidence. And I guess now to this day, that isn't really an issue. But what is an issue is when I talk about my children and what they're doing, people would make presumptions about my age and they wouldn't realize that I would have a daughter who's 25. And so in a sense, that would knock my confidence because people would think that I was a teenage mum, which I wasn't. But so that was, again, something else that I had to deal with. I also think through my leadership journey, I went through jobs and I was managing people who are much older than me. That didn't always go down very well, and you have to navigate that as well. So I'm just sharing a few things that I think throughout my career journey have knocked my confidence. I also think, starting off as an entrepreneur, I have big ideas, I've got all these dreams and ambitions, and sometimes it doesn't go as you plan. And so, that had also knocked my confidence. Am I really cut out to be a business owner, etc.? But along that journey, I do feel that, being very headstrong and ambitious and driven and knowing what I want out of life, feeling very independent. I don't have to rely on people, has also made me feel confident, but also maybe has worked against me. And we're going to talk about support also later on. So I think that's enough about me and my story. There's much more there. And if you'd love to find out more or to talk, or if any of that resonated with you, please do drop me a message. I'd be more than happy to share some of the things, the ups and downs of my life and career with you, if it will be helpful. But I guess I say all of this just to say that confidence is not fixed, okay? Many of us, may have felt that we're different, these other people look much more confident than me. And I guarantee no matter how confident someone looks on the outside, they have been through the same ups and downs as you. So it's a case of we build our confidence, and we will continue to do so. And today, as I said, I feel extremely confident in who I am and what I'm about, but you never know what life is going to throw at you. So be prepared. And to use the frameworks that we're going to go through today, I'm hoping that will enable you to rebuild your confidence if and when something does happen, okay? So I've shared, a bit about myself. I really want you to get stuck in and start thinking about your story, your life. And if you like, I'd really love for you to share some of the things that you're understanding about yourself, your thoughts in the chat. Okay, and we will have a Q&A at the end if you want to ask me any questions about anything I've shared today, any of the tools and insights that I've used throughout my life to help me to build my confidence, then, can put that into the chat as well. Okay, so let's move on then. Now we're moving on to you. So please be ready to have your pens and paper. I guess before we get started on that, I guess it's really helpful to reframe what we mean by confidence. I've spoken about it, but what do I actually mean when I say that I feel confident in myself? And I guess the number one thing is that self-trust. And I believe in myself. I'm my biggest cheerleader. And before, I would often doubt myself. And this is really central, I think, to chipping away at your confidence, because my intuition is strong on situations, on people, on what I want in life. But I, for years, would doubt that intuition. I would hear the voice inside me say, do that, go for it. And I would second guess and I wouldn't do it. And then later on, I'd be like, damn, I knew I should have done that thing. Okay, because I didn't have that self-trust in myself. I thought maybe I was making the wrong decision, or maybe someone else would be able to direct me better than I could direct myself. But now I know that that intuition that I had, that little voice, it's always on the money. And I listen to it and I believe in it and I lean into it. And when I'm not sure of a situation, I will sit with myself and try to think about, what do you really want, Atlyn? What are you getting from that situation? And so for me and for you, I would say, believe in yourself, bet on yourself, okay? And it's a great position to be in, okay? I'm not saying seek advice from others. You can certainly do that, but don't doubt yourself, and don't, your inner voice should be a very positive one. It should be the cheerleader. It shouldn't be the one that's criticizing you, okay? So that's the first one about confidence. The second one is clarity. Now, for me, I have so many ideas, and that's the thing that I used to, I guess, doubt. I used to have these amazing ideas, but not follow through with them because I doubted myself. But this would also be a way where I'd lose focus and lose clarity because I'd have too many thoughts and too many ideas and too many things that are going through my mind. But I think for me now, I know my purpose. I know what is important to me. I've been able to sift through all the many things that I thought were important to me and prioritize. And that's the other thing. So it's really for you to do the work to understand what your purpose is in life, what your priorities are. And these bring clarity. And then on top of that, with the self-belief, you can lean into that clarity and really make a big change in your life. So clarity is really important as well, because that can lead you to make the right decisions once you know yourself and know what's important to you. The third one is permission to choose yourself. And I think this is also a big one, especially for women, because quite often we are responsible for others, and we'll very often choose others above ourselves. And if we don't, we feel guilty. Now, I'm not, as a mother, as a partner, as a friend, with extended family members, with caring responsibilities, etc. I do have to prioritize other people sometimes. But when I choose myself, I have no guilt about it. I did the post recently, for those of you following me on LinkedIn, you'll have seen that I did a solo trip to Asia last month, and it was amazing. I'd traveled on my own before for business, where I had meetings and itineraries. This was the first time where it was just purely leisure and I could do what I wanted. I did not, normally when I go away, whatever it is for, I'm constantly checking in with my family, with my children every day, WhatsApping, calling, etc., to the point that they actually get annoyed. But this time I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel the need to do that. I did check in, but nowhere near as much as I would normally do. And, having spa treatments, doing things just for me without having to consider others, especially time. My time is my own and I want to own it. And I guess also being an entrepreneur enables me to own my time and decide what I want to do. And it feels amazing to have that. So the third thing I would say with regards to my understanding of what confidence is around permission to choose yourself with no guilt. Okay, you've made the decision, you know your purpose, you believe in your decision, so you can, give yourself permission to choose yourself at all times, okay, and to stand by it. There's no point choosing yourself and then feeling bad about it, right? And then the last one on this list is progress over perfection. And this one, I guess I live and breathe it because I'm a doer. So I do. And quite often when I do, it's not perfect. But you know what? I've made a step. And I've got an affirmation card downstairs and it says, every step moves you forward. No matter how small the step is, you are moving forward. And so progression over perfection. Do not procrastinate over something. Just make a small step towards it. Even with things like, washing the dishes, sometimes I don't actually feel like I want to wash the dishes, but you know what? Let me just wash a couple of cups. Before you know it, I've washed a few more. Have a little break, go back and do the rest, right? Just do what you can, okay? Because it's not about being perfect. It's about progressing and just taking small steps in the right direction, because over time, those small steps build up into a big step, okay? So for me, those are the 4 things that really underpin what confidence means to you. And you may have a different, description of it, but I think it's really important for us before we get started on this session to really understand what confidence means and what I'm referring to. But just to say what it's not loud. People often think that's this loud, brash person that's, up on the dance floor or talking very loudly. That, to me, is not confidence. I actually like quiet confidence. You can see the person who is assured, they know what they're talking about. They're the expert. They don't have to prove themselves. And that is also what confidence is. You're not always certain 100% of the time, but when you're confident, you can own it. You know what? I'm not sure about that, but let me take a look at it and I'll get back to you. That is someone who is really confident, but also you haven't figured it all out. I'm a business owner. There's many things that I need to do in my business. I'm seeking advice and support for that and owning it. I'm an expert in this area and there's a gap in my business here. Can you assist and support me? That's awareness, actually. That's doing something in regards to a gap and something that I haven't got figured out. Okay. Now, I want you to think about maybe when you have felt that your confidence wasn't there recently. All right. I really want you today to reflect on yourself and what confidence means to you. And so I guess the first thing to start with is what has shaken my confidence recently and how have I strengthened it? Because remember, we're looking here today for frameworks. How can we rebuild our confidence when it dips? Because I guarantee you it will. And I know it's going to dip for me, but I know I've got things that I can do to make myself feel more confident. Okay, I've got things in my back pocket that I can refer to make myself feel good. So in the chat, please can you, in the chat, sorry, on your personal notes, so this is quite private, yeah, on your personal notes, if you've got your notebooks, if you can write down maybe what has recently shaken your confidence. It could be that your manager's micromanaging you. It could be that a family member said something about your appearance. What is it that has shaken your confidence recently? And what have you done to strengthen it back? Because it is always going to be about rebuilding it. And maybe the next time that person says or does that, it will just wash over you, okay? Because you don't have to let it absorb in you, okay? And there'll be many things around us that could potentially shake our confidence, but it's how we decide to deal with it, okay? So hopefully you've written that down. If anyone does want to share it, please feel free to put it in there, especially the things that have been able to strengthen it back and build you back. It would be great for us to share some of those things in the chat with others. I guess one of the things that I do, which my children always laugh at me, is I say in the mirror to myself, "You've got this, Atlyn." And like I said, I'm my biggest cheerleader, and I'll actually verbally say that to myself, and this helps me feel confident, okay? The other thing I did today before this webinar, which I do quite often, is I put perfume on. I know it sounds so bizarre that I put perfume on for a webinar, but I feel good. It makes me feel great that I know that I've put on my full, outfit, done my hair, put my jacket, my blazers also give me confidence. And there's a little spray of perfume. So yeah, that's one of the other things that I do to build my confidence before doing a speaking gig. Stephanie, I'm sorry that you crashed your car yesterday. That would definitely shake your confidence. And I remember when I had a car accident, I was shaky for a very long time. But what I will say, Stephanie, what I had to do, you must get back in your car, because I didn't want to. I was scared to go back and drive. but if you leave it and let it sit for too long, you may not want to. So yeah, I'm sorry to hear about the car crash, and I hope you are able to get back and start driving again. Yeah, being redundant, I feel like you don't know what that feels like until it happens to you. Even when people tell you it's going to happen, they're preparing you, they're doing the consultation. I think when it hits you that I haven't got another job, I wasn't wanted, that's what I felt like. They chose me over other people, because obviously some people stay in the business and I wasn't chosen. And also just that uncertainty, if you've got another job to go to, how am I going to pay my bills? I lost my independence. So yeah. And this is a big thing that many people are experiencing right now. And I believe it's going to continue, with the sentiment and the economic conditions. So if anyone really is experiencing it and redundancy and is able to share what you do to build yourself back up, then, please do, because I think it'll definitely be very helpful. I definitely think having a community around you during this time, I think is really important as well. And I guess one other thing, with regards to redundancy, is I said there is going to be a lot more happening. And so I think preparation, financial preparations, everything else you can do to shore up yourself. Don't just wait for it to happen before doing what needs to be done. If you don't get made redundant, then that's a bonus, right? But you would have prepared anyway. Thank you. So Crystal said, remind myself that at the beginning of the year, my values and what's important to me. Yeah, it's really good to take stock and to really think about what is important to you, because it keeps you grounded. And sometimes you might be thinking that, oh, this thing that I thought was important, maybe it's not to me. My health is really important, my family, etc. So I think taking stock of that is really important. So if you can, please continue sharing what's shaken you. And again, I think it's quite freeing sometimes when you put it out there, but also if anyone's got any thoughts or tips in terms of what they've done to strengthen themselves back again, I think that's also really important to share, and hopefully we're going to have more of that sharing today. Okay, I'm going to move on, but do please continue to share it in the chat. So I was just looking in on the chat, but I'm going to go back to my slides now. So I'll check back in again on there, but do please share it because other people are looking on the chat. So what we're going to do, we're going to work through 5 questions, okay? And these 5 questions are going to help you to plan your next chapter with confidence and clarity. So we've already had a few people sharing things that have shaken them and knocked their confidence, but maybe even if that hasn't happened to you, you will find these 5 questions really enlightening, and hopefully they will give you some answers to some of the questions you may have about what you should be doing next and how you're going to get there. All right. So as I said, if you haven't got your pen and paper, you're definitely going to need it now. Okay. So these questions, they're not about pressure or urgency. They're really about honesty, awareness, and direction. Okay. You don't need to have the perfect answers today. You just need the truth and honesty. Only you need to know about it. You're writing in your own notepad, and hopefully you're going to come back and refer to it later. You don't have to answer every single question in perfect, sentences either. It's just to prompt your thoughts and ideas. All the questions are going to be available in the blueprint that you can download and refer back to it later. Or if you prefer, you can just write it in your notebook and come back to it later on. Okay, so no pressure on the questions in terms of how you answer them and feeling that, you haven't had a chance to answer it fully. You can come back to this, I'm hoping, and use it time and time again. All right. So the first question, again, remember, honesty is really important with this. If you can't be honest with yourself, then who can you be honest with? All right. So this is for information and there is no judgment, and you literally should not be judging yourself. Okay. So the first question is, where am I right now? Really? Okay. So before deciding, where you're going, it's essential that you really understand where you are. Okay. And when I say where you are, I don't mean practically, it could mean physically, where are you? Maybe where you live is an issue. But emotionally, how are you feeling inside? Mentally, how are you feeling mentally? In fact, how are you feeling maybe even health-wise? All right. So some of the things to maybe think about when you're answering this question, which is, where am I right now? Really? Okay. Is, how do I actually feel about my current work or life situation? So it could be your job, it could be the thing that you're doing, it could be who you live with, it could be your relationships, it could be your family. Okay, how are you feeling about that? Is it good? Could it do better? Is it a priority? Is it, it's fine, nothing really to worry about there. How do you feel where do you feel energized? Okay, where do I feel drained? And this is a great one to really identify where you should and shouldn't be, especially with people as well. There have been people in my life that when I spend an hour with them, I feel exhausted. I don't walk away from that time feeling great. I feel bad. I feel awful. And that's the energy they're giving me. All right. So if you're having that happening repeatedly, it's not great. All right. Or maybe you're feeling very energized. It's the start of a new year. You're reflecting. You're feeling good. It's a new start, clean slate. So maybe you're feeling excited about the year ahead, which is also a great place to be. Another thing I would say is that to think about the way you feel doesn't always have to be determined by your situation. Sometimes it is, something bad has happened, and I feel awful about it. But something bad could happen and you could feel awful about it today, but tomorrow you're like, you know what? I'm not going to let that bad thing disrupt all the other things I've got to do. And I say that because I feel like you have got some control over how you feel and what's in your mind and how you think. You can decide how you're going to respond to that situation. Okay. And it can be really bad. And sometimes you can say, I can't really get over it. The car crash, that is a physical thing. And, I felt very shaken for a time. So that might be very difficult to get over that. But say, for example, I used to have quite bad road rage, that going back a few years now. But someone used to cut me up and I used to get so angry that they'd done that, such a disrespect, and I used to beat my horn. I'd never get out of the car, but I'd always beep. I'd probably swear, put my finger up and things like that, which is ridiculous. But what I found is that I was angry for, a good 20 minutes after that incident happened. And then I started to think, that's crazy. That person has gone off on their journey. They're not even thinking about me. And I'm angry and got all this negative energy within my body that's going to impact who I'm with, impact probably the activity that I'm going to, and could actually make my whole day bad. But I've decided when I'm driving, if something bad happens, I am not going to let it affect me. Okay, obviously if it's an accident, it's different. But if it's just, people doing whatever they do, driving badly, I'm not going to let it seep into my body and impact me. Okay, and that's a decision that I have taken. But it took me some time because before my emotions would run away with me and I would let it get to me. All right. So one other thing to think about is what emotions come up most often. Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling bored? Are you feeling anxious? Or are you feeling fulfillment and joy? And it could be a mix of all of those things. I hope this has prompted some thoughts in terms of how are you feeling right now, really? Okay. So as I said, you need to understand this before you can really move on and decide what to do next, because what you do next is linked to where you are now. It should be anyway. All right. So let's be truthful about this. But yeah, let's move on. And said, if you need more time, you can come back to it later. So now I want you to think about your skills, experience, and your strengths. And I know in life, quite often we focus more on the negatives. We don't often really spend time thinking about what we're really good at, but it is so important. Like I said about my netball when I was younger, being good at netball gave me strength and power in myself. Okay. Being a creative, loving art and being good at art gave me something too. And so I really want you to think about what it is. And it could be things that you've always been good at, or it could be new things, or maybe someone told you hadn't even realized. I think there are things that we're great at that we don't even realize that we're good at. And I guess a gift to somebody else is to tell someone what you think they're good at as well. And then quite often it is reciprocated. So, at the when we're at a crossroads and we're experiencing self-doubt, sometimes that voice can be a lot louder, right? Especially when we are maybe underrepresented, if we are facing bias, maybe we're feeling imposter syndrome, maybe we've got set into a great position and we are doubting ourselves. Okay, this is the time to really lean into what it is that you are good at. All right, this would be the strongest voice. Your positive voice is so important. So if you could write down now 2 lists: skills I use confidently. What are you good at? What do you do every day? Maybe it's speaking, maybe it's writing. It could be so many things. Okay, maybe you're a great mother, a great partner, many things, and it should cover every aspect of your life. Okay, maybe you're an amazing cook. Maybe you're very fit, you're very strong, you've got great stamina. It could be so many different things. It could be obviously linked to work is also really helpful. But also I think is what's a strength that you undervalue? And the reason why I say that is because when you've been good at something for a very long time, you start to undervalue it. And only when other people tell you, like, oh yes, I am really good at cooking. I forgot about that. My food does taste great. You just take it for granted that everyone can do this and they cannot. So I really want you to write down also what strengths do you undervalue? Okay. And so this is what I want you to go back to when that doubt starts to creep in. When you need to boost yourself, like I said, what are the things that we're going to be doing that when our confidence does dip, we can go into our back pocket and draw it out. And this list is that, okay? The skills that I use confidently, okay, whatever they may be, but also the strengths that I undervalue. This is your go-to list whenever you're doubting yourself in the workplace or someone has undermined you. This is the place to go, okay, to boost you up and to make you realize how much value you bring, okay? And maybe that person is threatened by the value that you bring. You know, who knows? You know, maybe it's that you're very organized, okay? Maybe it's something else. Okay, there are so many aspects. Maybe you're very empathetic, and people come to you because they appreciate your insights and your thoughts and how you make them feel. There are so many amazing skills that we can bring, and we need to know what they are, because this is what we need to go to when our confidence starts to dip. Okay, so I'm hoping you all have a very long list. If anybody wants to share it in the chat, I would love to see some people sharing what their strengths are and maybe what strengths they undervalue. Okay, it would be great to put it in there to share with others, because we need to own it and not be ashamed or embarrassed. When you're good at something, man, we should be shouting about it. Okay, so let's do that as well. Okay, I'm just having a quick look here. Yeah, okay, brilliant. Just reinforcing some of the things that I've said. So yeah, keep the chat going, and do please share and reiterate the things that you're really good at, because I think it's a great thing to be able to feel confident shouting about it. And I know that, you know, I'd say that women don't, but I just think in the UK, we're just not used to really being, you know, loud and proud of what we're good at. But you see Americans doing it. Oh my God, look at that person really talking confidently about what they're great at. We should be able to do that too. And so, yeah, let's put it in the chat. Let's not undervalue it. Yeah, kindness is a brilliant strength as well. So thank you for sharing that, Simone. Okay, so moving on. What is holding me back? Okay, and this is such an important one. Okay, this is around barriers, beliefs, and bias. Okay, and this question also requires compassion and honesty with yourself. Okay, so some barriers that we have are external, and I talk about them a lot in terms of bias, a lack of access, limited representation, you know, unsupportive cultures, all of the things that are external, especially in the workplace and in society. But at other times, there are barriers that are internal, things that we've put up, limiting beliefs, all right? And this could be the fear of change. This could be financial anxiety. It could be that we are a people pleaser, or that we believe that we must endure discomfort to be successful. You know, this grind, I've got to grind, I've got to work hard in order for me to really, I guess, to I'm thinking of a word. This is what I also have too. It can knock my confidence. I have brain fog. Words, I just cannot remember them. So this is what I'm trying to say, is that maybe, you know, that we thought we need to work harder in order to deserve this reward. All right. But this is a barrier that we're putting up ourselves. And so I want you to really think about, what barriers do you really have in place? And it could be that your manager is a barrier, or that your workplace or that society is, or financial barriers. But I want you to think about and reflect on, what fears come up when I imagine making a change? So just say, for example, you're going to imagine, I want a new job. What fears are you facing? Is it a fear maybe around doing an interview? I haven't done an interview for how many odd years? You know, maybe it's that. Think about the fears, because once you know what barriers are there, that is when you can break them down. And what I would often do, and I realized this, is that when I face something difficult that was unfamiliar to me, and I kind of mean more like skills in life. So, for example, I used to be really crap at Excel. I'm still not great, but I can get by. But when it came to doing anything to do with Excel, I would just put it off. I'd put it on my to-do list. It would go right to the bottom. And I realized that that was a barrier for me. The things that I was not good at, I would put off. I guess most people do that. But what I read a book, I'm sure I'm going to get the name wrong, but about eating the frog, basically, to do the things that you're worse at first. Okay. And so what I started to do was that if I can't do this, I can either learn it. Sometimes I couldn't do it. I just didn't want to do it. Sometimes there's certain things I just thought were just too detail oriented. That's not my thing. And I'd find them boring. So I wouldn't want to do them. But what the power was, I identified those things. That thing on that list, I know I don't want to do it. When I read it, it makes me feel sick. I know that it's not my thing, but I'm not going to ignore it. I'm going to find someone to do it for me. So I used to then think about who in my circle could I ask? And it could be someone in my team I could delegate it to. Maybe I can go onto Fiverr and find someone and pay them to do this job. Maybe I could use now AI to do the job for me. But don't ignore it. That's a barrier that you're creating. And that task would never get done. It would always often be, late for a deadline because I pushed it to the back. Okay. So that's what I'm saying about being honest and identifying what those fears and barriers are. What stories am I telling myself about what is and what isn't possible? Again, we all have stories. Quite often we've told ourselves a story since childhood. Okay. So there can be traumas and triggers that maybe we're telling ourselves over and over again, and we don't realize it. And this is what I was saying about slowing down, thinking, writing things down, and being honest. Because once you can see the story, it can really help you to break down the barrier. And I'll tell you a story that I used to tell myself, and I still do sometimes. And it's linked to, when I was younger, my father had another family. And so I've got, brothers and sisters from my dad, but he married his wife, and they've been together forever, and they had a beautiful big house, a lovely car. My sister would get all the latest gadgets and stuff, and so I'd always tell a story that this was so unfair, that me and my mother, we never had all these things, we were in a flat, etc., etc. And to a certain extent I still think it does have an impact on me, because what it is that I've told the story myself throughout my life is I'm going to show them. And a lot of my ambition and drive is to show them that I am worthy of this, of all the things that I didn't have when I was younger. So it's a strange story, but it is one that is repeated, and I've identified it. And when I was younger, I didn't realize that I had this resentment for that. Although I love my dad, I love my sister, we get on really well. But within me, that was a resentment that I held on for a very long time. But it turned into a driver for me to be ambitious and to get where I need to get to, so that I can have the beautiful house and all the things that I think I missed out on. So I'm just sharing an example, but it took time for me to realize that was the story that I was telling myself over and over again, and what it meant to me in reality. Okay. So I think I'm going to move on. I hope you've got some notes, and if anyone wants to share anything else in the chat, please do. So the sentence that you should hopefully be completing alongside all of this is, if fear wasn't a factor, I could. All right. And so again, quite often we've had these things that we really want to do. I used to wish I was a CEO. I am now a CEO. But for many years, I wished I was a CEO. But I would say that I can't be one because of X, Y, Z. Who's going to employ me as a CEO? In fact, I realized I could be my own CEO of my own company. And so if fear wasn't a factor, I would what? Travel around the world, ask my boss for a promotion, ask for a pay rise, or maybe just leave my job. What is it that we're inside as our wildest dream that we think we cannot do, but in fact you can? But firstly, you need to identify, what is it that I want that I'm fearing? If fear wasn't a factor, what would you really do? And if anyone wants to share it in the chat, I would love to hear it. Okay. And it could even be something as simple as riding a bike, or swimming. I would learn to swim if fear wasn't a factor. And sometimes, again, it could be traumas from early on in our lives that are holding us back. Okay, so these are the internal fears and internal barriers that we're having. Okay, does anyone want to share? Do singing lessons and create an album. I would love for you to do that. Have the lessons. That would feel so great, and I'm sure would give you a lot of joy, Shireen. So please do. And do you know what I feel like? Maybe you're not going to do the singing lessons straight away, but maybe after the session today, you could do some research to find out if there are any local singing lesson providers near you. That's what I'm saying about small steps. I'm not saying jump in and start writing your album, but maybe you are. But maybe it's a small step you can take towards that. Okay. Yep. Writing a book, that's an ambition that many people have. What's a small step you could take to that? Maybe it's just writing the title of the book. Maybe it's writing a synopsis of what would your book actually entail? What would it include? That's a starting point. Topic and a theme. Maybe speak to someone who's written a book. My friend Sharon, she wrote a book. It's amazing, and speaking to other people who have done it, it kind of brings it to life. And look, Faye's just saying she knows a great voice coach called Cheryl. So please do put the website in for that voice coach. You never know, we could get those Shireen to get her singing lessons after all, to execute 3 business ideas and actually attend networking events. Yes, that networking one is a big fear. And I would often go to networking events and maybe just have 1 or 2 conversations. There's fear of, approaching someone that you don't know. What am I going to say? And again, there are some really good insights around that. And I would say Google it, because, you can have like 2 or 3 openers that you just use over and over again. And that's what I try to do. But I think sometimes there's something else inside of you that gives you that fear of going up to people and approaching them and what are they going to do if they ignore me. I definitely get that one. So thank you for sharing it. Okay, so let's move on. And what the idea of sharing the fear, though, is of how you're going to overcome it. And that's what I want you to do. Think about the small steps that you can take. All right. So we're on to question number 4 now. And this is really around how we want to feel. What do I want my next chapter to feel like? And it's really important that you attach yourself to that. Sometimes what we do, we attach ourselves to the title. Like I said, I want to be CEO. But in actual fact, why do I want to be a CEO? You know, oh, because I want to have control of my own destiny. I want to be able to work when I want to work. I want to have financial freedom. What are the feelings? Okay, I want people to respect me. It could be many other things linked to that thing. Okay. Maybe I want to be a singer because it brings me so much joy when I sing. I feel happy and I get joy from seeing other people uplifted from my voice. Okay. So I want you to start thinking about feelings. Okay. Because your next move isn't just about what you do. It's about how you live and how you feel while you're doing it. And another example of this, which I heard in a podcast recently, was about LeBron James. And obviously, you know, he's one of the greatest basketballers in the world and, you know, goes above and beyond in terms of his fitness regime. But he would get up at, I think, 4 a.m. and start doing his workouts. And people say that takes a lot of discipline, a lot of motivation. And he would say that, in fact, the reason why I did that is because it would give me joy knowing that I'm working out while everybody else is sleeping. When they get up and they start their workout, I'm already on to my second workout. Okay, so that was his little dopamine kick. You know, I'm getting a kick from knowing that while I'm here doing my stuff, everyone else is sleeping. And so sometimes it's about the feeling you're going to get from doing the thing rather than the actual thing itself. It's not like he really wants to work out. He's attached another, I guess, driver for doing it. And so I want you to really think about the thing you want to do. You want to write a book. Why do you want to write a book? What is it going to make you feel like? Why, you know, what is the reasoning for that? Okay, maybe you've got a really important story to tell and you're dying to let other people know. Okay, really, maybe you want to see your name up on the shelf in a bookshop. I don't know, but I really want you to think about the why, okay, and how you're going to feel. The other thing about it, when I say about how you're going to feel, is to think about your well-being, because a lot of these things are going to make us feel great, but sometimes the journey to get there may not always be great. And are we ready for that? Okay, so success at the cost of your well-being really isn't success. All right. And if you really want it that badly, what steps are you going to take? And how can you approach it with your well-being in mind? So, you know, we've seen women redefine success. And this is what, you know, our live event was about and within the book. But sometimes this comes after things like burnout, maybe menopause, which is part of the reason for my brain fog, after caregiving responsibilities, of maybe years of overperformance. So you just feel like, you know what, I'm tired right now. So you're thinking about where's the alignment rather than trying to constantly be overperforming and over striving for something. And I even asked someone else today, what are you looking forward to in 2026? And they said contentment, just being happy with what I've got. That's what I'm looking forward to in 2026. And I thought, wow, that is a great thing to look forward to, right? Sometimes the striving can burn you out just thinking about it rather than even trying to do it. All right. So let's think about this as an action and as something you can write down. My ideal next chapter. What is it? But I want you to focus on the feeling first rather than the role or the outcome, like the book. What is the feeling that you want from your next chapter? I want to feel accomplished. I want to feel happy. I want to feel calm. I want to feel joy. I want to feel contented. Yeah. These are all the things. I want to feel healthy. So yeah, think about the feelings, because I think this is really important. And when you get that feeling, you're going to know that, you know, you're where you want to be. All right. Rather than always looking for, you know, a physical goal. Sometimes it's about what we're feeling inside. Okay. And maybe it's like, I just want to feel confident. And that's a great place to be as well. All right. So we're on to the last question right now. And if anyone again wants to share what they want to feel, please pop it in the chat, because I'm sure it will give others ideas. Because I know it's quite hard to think about how I want to feel. You know, I just want to be happy. And again, what does that mean to be really happy to you? All right. So yeah, if anyone wants to share how they want to feel with their next chapter, please do write it down. And so we've got the last question now. And there are some other exercises after this, and this is the last of the 5 questions, okay? And it's like what I was saying before. Based on all the things you've shared, what is one small, possibly supported step you can take next, okay? It doesn't need to be a perfect plan. I don't even want a big plan. I just want one step. Like I said, maybe Shireen's going to Google local singing instructors, okay? Maybe, the lady who had the car crash is going to go and be a passenger in a car journey somewhere, okay? What small step can I take, all right? Possibly supported to move me towards where I want to be, okay? So change happens, when reflection is paired with potentially community or guidance or accountability. And that accountability could even be to yourself, although having someone else and sharing it, which is why putting it in the chat's quite good, or just telling a friend, telling a family member, putting it out there into the universe that I'm going to do this. And this is the small step I'm going to take. But let's think about what could that small step be, all right? It could be like someone mentioned about the networking, maybe just to attend a workshop or a masterclass. Maybe when you attend, you don't speak to anybody at the first time, but maybe you're just there and you're in the room. And actually, it was quite a great place and I learned quite a lot of things. Okay, so maybe it's that, or maybe you want to learn a new skill. You want to do a new area. You want to move from working in, accounts to maybe working, in compliance. How are you going to do that? I'm going to check out a workshop or a masterclass or what courses are available to me or speak to someone who does that job. Think about joining a supportive community, perhaps. Like I said, sometimes I find, I'm going to talk about this in a minute, that we haven't got the right people around us that are going to encourage us and help us to take that small step. So maybe be looking around for other people. And that could be what I do, is I follow people on LinkedIn and on Instagram. They become my virtual cheerleaders too. They're doing what I want to do. And so again, if it's not in person, you can find communities online as well. Maybe you're preparing because you can see that the sentiment in your business is changing and that redundancies could be coming. So I'm not going to wait. I'm going to update my CV. I'm going to update my LinkedIn. I'm going to do it now. It's a small step, okay, that you can take to be prepared. All right. Look at what other LinkedIn profiles you like. Maybe start taking notes. Maybe take a couple of pictures for a new profile picture. Get someone to take your pictures for you over the weekend. All these are small steps, okay, based on where you want to be. Maybe it's having an honest conversation with somebody. Maybe it's something you've been wanting to say to someone, but you've been too scared. Maybe that's just a small step you need to take. All right. So I want you to write down, what is my next step, right? This could be the big picture, but also what is going to be the small step towards it. Okay. When am I going to take it? All right. So when are you going to go to this next workshop? Are you going to start researching it now? Are you going to start researching it tomorrow? But when is it going to be? I'm sure you guys know about SMART objectives, right? So we need to be thinking about what is the next step, but when is it going to happen? But also importantly, who is going to support me with it? Okay. And maybe you don't need someone to support you, but I do want you to think about, and what I've done for many years is asking for help felt very difficult, and it is to this day. However, some of the best decisions I've made have been prompted through conversations with other people who are ahead of me in what they're doing. Or they can just see it. They can see what I'm doing and they can understand what I want to get to. And they just give me a solution. And I'm like, wow, why didn't I think of that? Okay. So I think support can come in many forms. All right. But again, a story that I would tell myself, and I still do tell myself this story, is that I don't have anyone to support me, but I do. And you can too, if you look for that support. Okay. So remember, the small, consistent steps can change your lives. And I'm sure some of you may have read Atomic Habits. But it doesn't have to be a big move. It can be a small one, okay? So just think about that. Now, those are the 5 questions. As I said, they are available as a download. It's called the Blueprint. If you go to this QR code, you can get to see those questions. And I would urge you to do it more than once, or maybe just to tackle one, because it is hard work, really diving deep and being honest with yourself. But if you want to continue with those questions, do please download it via the QR code or just go to the website, Communicate Inclusively. We're going to be emailing you anyway, so you can hopefully access that. Okay, so I hope you found that helpful. I found it extremely helpful even though I've done it, when I do it again, I still come up with different things. Okay, so I hope you have found it valuable. I just want to go over a few other things before we come towards the end of the session. And again, it's back down to the feelings. So I feel like when you tap into how you feel about things and really listen to your body, your mind, and your heart, I think it has such a big power. All right. And so I want you to think about when you're confident, when you're truly confident, how is it going to feel? And this is the picture that really resonated with me, because I feel like when I'm confident, I could just run barefoot along a beach. This is like, I guess, the embodiment of my confidence. Okay. And so I want you to think about, when you are feeling truly confident in yourself, how does it feel in your body, your emotions, and your energy? What does confidence feel like in your body? All right. Because this is what we're chasing. We want to chase the feeling. All right. You need to create your own high and your own sense of achievement. We don't want to be looking at others to give it to us. And this is where we can have a downfall when we're expecting others to make us feel great, expecting others to make us feel confident. All right. Others to give us that really good feeling. If we can give ourselves that feeling, do you know how much power there is in that? And just remember that confidence will grow when your nervous system feels safe. All right. So how can you make yourself feel safe? How can you change your environment, change your situation, do preparations for when you know potentially bad things are going to happen, so that you have that sense of feeling safe? And I think this is why the redundancy one always keeps coming to mind, because actually your nervous system isn't feeling safe, and that's why your confidence dips at that moment in time. But in fact, you need that confidence more than ever to move on to your next step and be able to take actions to make sure that you have got the financials that you need to survive. So yeah, think about this, what you're chasing, the feeling that you want to have inside, because when you get there, it feels great, especially if you can identify it before you get there. If anyone wants to share that in the chat, I would love that too. And I've spoken about this already, but I really think, acknowledging how amazing you are is so important. You don't need to earn the rest, respect, or pride or confidence. You already deserve it. Who you are now today is enough. Okay. And I don't think we realize that. You don't have to change who you are to be confident in who you are. Okay. And so I really want you to think about this positive self-talk. It is essential that the voice in your head, I know we're going to have negative self-talk too, but that you have more of the positive. Be intentional about it. Think about what things can you say. Like I said, in the mirror, I say, you got this, Atlyn. And this is my go-to one, but there are other ones that I say in my head. All right. You need to have your little champion voice inside you. What should it be saying? Okay. You want to be your own biggest cheerleader, because when you believe in yourself truly, guess what other people do too? When you meet people, they often say, oh, they've got really good energy. Quite often because they're a very confident, happy, contented person. And that's what you want to be. All right. So again, do a bit of writing. Name the 3 things I'm proud of myself. Okay. 3 things I'm proud of myself for, sorry. So what is it about yourself that you're proud of? And it could be, as I said, some achievement that you've made along the way, or it could be just something about who you are and what you do. All right. Another thing is one quality I admire in myself. So quite often we admire other people, but I want you to admire yourself. Okay. What one quality do I admire in myself? And again, this is a great question, a great page to go back to. All right. And I bet you're going to find it hard, because when it comes to the positive things about ourselves, it's difficult. If I asked you the same question about the negatives, I'm sure you'd have a longer list that you could reel off, but we're not doing that today. It's about the positive things. So yeah, 3 things that you're proud of and 1 quality that you admire in yourself. All right. Okay. We're going to keep moving on. I'm going a bit faster now. I'm sorry, but I've probably taken a bit too long with some of the other bits and pieces. So I want to talk a bit about the support again and why it matters. Okay. Because confidence doesn't always grow in isolation, and clarity isn't always built alone. All right. So the support in the community is really important. So in terms of the confidence, when you have got others around you or virtually around you, it's about being seen. When they identify something that you've done, they can see a difference in you. You're affirmed, you're reminded of your strengths. They can see things maybe that you don't see. In terms of clarity, like I said, when I speak out my thoughts, it gives me clarity, but having someone to speak to is important, the right person. So space to think out loud, to reflect, a sense check. You've got this idea, you want to speak to the right person that's going to say, you know what, that is a good idea, but maybe think about this also. Okay, this gives you clarity when you have someone and you have community and you have support. Accountability, I love this one. And I'm sure you said you were going to do that thing. How are you getting on with it? How's that thing going, that project that you mentioned before? Gentle momentum when there's self-doubt or the fear creeps in that stops you from doing the thing, knowing that someone might ask you about it. And you can set it up. I've got a coach. I know my coach is going to ask me about certain things. So it could be a friend or family member, or it could be something that you set up intentionally. Like, I know that having my coach is a great accountability partner for me that I know is going to ask me about it. So I make progress. It forces me to do it because there's no way I'm going to that next meeting, I'm going to say I haven't done it. So again, accountability is key. And then the last one I've got on here is around psychological safety. So that means I don't have to lie. I don't have to feel judged. Okay. I can be honest about where I am. I haven't done that thing. I'm not good at it. I'm scared of it still. You can be honest and say that to that person without judgment or fear. Okay. We're all human and we should be able to own how we're feeling, be honest with ourselves. But wouldn't it be great to have someone that you could be honest with too, that you feel safe enough to share that with? Okay. So we all need spaces where we can pause, where we can process and grow without judgment. It's really important. Okay. If you have that person in your life, it's amazing, but sometimes we don't. And that's the thing I want to talk about now. That, like me, I'm sure many of you may feel scared to ask for help. Maybe you're the first in your family, the first in your friend group to be where you are. So it's sometimes hard to speak to those people about the challenges. They think, what do you mean? You've got it all. In fact, I haven't got it all. So sometimes finding those people and finding the support can be hard. Okay, so many women maybe will find it hard to find consistent, meaningful support. So maybe you had it before, or there was one person, but now they're gone. Maybe life takes over. Okay, so for example, maybe that in certain places it feels very performative, very fake, could be quite competitive, in fact. So, you do something and then they think that you're trying to boast about it when you're not. You just want to have an honest conversation. It feels quite transactional. It's not a safe space, really. Or it could be very informal. As I said, life gets busy, and that's what I found with a lot of my friends. They have children, they've got partners, they've got their own lives. They don't want to be hearing about my stuff, Or maybe it's to do with a professional environment where you just really don't feel safe. If you say something, they're going to be like, oh, she's not good at her job. It's not inclusive. I better not disclose any of the struggles I'm having. This means that you can't share anything in that space. Any issues you've got with your work, you have to go outside because you're too scared to say it in the workplace. Or maybe you just feel too vulnerable, it's too risky, it's too uncomfortable. This thing, oh, I don't want to share that with anyone. I don't want to go there. So there are very few spaces, I would say, where we can feel fully safe to share and to get the support that we need. And so that means that we carry it ourselves. We carry it heavy on our shoulders for a very, very long time. And this isn't great. This is really part of the reason why I wanted to create this community, because I've walked that path. I still walk it today, if I'm really honest with you. But wouldn't it be great if we had a space where we could feel a bit of safety to share some of the things and to have like-minded people, women, Black women, that are going through very similar things to us, okay? And the other thing is that needing support, it doesn't mean you're lacking confidence. It means that you are more self-aware, that you are ambitious, you're driven, you're a human being. We all need support at some moment in time, and trying to do it all alone is not a trophy to hold up, let me tell you. But I think, having the right community, it doesn't necessarily, have to be, all about you, okay? Also, it's about giving back to others. But I think it also, when you have the right community, it really helps to remind you of who you are, okay? And this is what I want to really talk to you now about the collective, which some of you may have heard about if you came to the in-person event. And again, it's a new kind of membership group community, and it's grown naturally. It's grown naturally from all the sessions we've done, for people sharing experiences, people saying, oh my God, I really took a lot from that speaker that you had, Atlyn. I've seen that there's a gap, there's a space that is really needed, and that's why I've created this. And so this is potentially one possible next step. There could be many that I'm hoping that you wrote down, but this might be the space that you need, okay? A supported membership community designed specifically for Black women. And I guess when I say Black women, I feel that gives us an extra level of safety, because you could be with other women, potentially, who just don't get that other layer that the race brings into it, okay? So I feel that for me, that does make it more of a safe space. But I'm not saying you can't have safe spaces with other groups of people. In fact, some of my mentors and coaches have been white men and sponsors, so you can get support from anywhere. But for me, seeing, when we speak about our experiences and how much it resonates with people, that's why, I wanted to create this space. But the other thing I wanted to say is that what happens to us when we get the support that we need? How does it transform us? How does it make us feel? And firstly, again, why the session's about confidence, I feel like when you've got the right people around you, it does boost your confidence, all right? And this is one thing I'm really excited about bringing and helping. other people to have through this community, it can give us a bit of a clearer direction about our next chapter. You see someone else like, oh, that was a good move. I don't want to do that, but it's making me think about maybe I could do that. Okay, it gives us clarity when we have people that are aligned with what we're trying to do. Maybe it's going to give us stronger leadership and visibility. Maybe it's going to help us take our career to the next level and be able to thrive in that space. Reduced isolation. Isolation can really impact your well-being. And, any space where you can feel that there's a bit of camaraderie, I think is really positive. But also it has to be about the practical tools, okay, to help you achieve your goals. And I'm hoping today, we've done that just a little bit. And imagine if if it resonated with you today, what we did, imagine having that supportive space all the time available to you. Okay. So this is why I've created it. If it's of interest to you, if you think it could be your next step, take a look at the collective online. It gives much more information about what it offers. You can use the QR code there. And this is just some of the other information. I've tried to make it as affordable as possible, but we've got 2 levels of membership. And this is basically, what you'll get from this. It's obviously consistent support. And we do that through webinars like this and masterclasses, lots of resources. Like I said, the blueprint is just one of them, but there'll be many other toolkits and resources that you can go to. If you missed the session, like today, it's recorded. You can watch the replay. You can stop and pause and pick up the bits that have been most helpful. We've also got well-being circles, whereby we just talk about how we feel about certain things, well-being challenges. And I think for me, why I think this is important to have it is that there are not always very many spaces where you can talk about your well-being and how you are feeling mentally. And so we want to have that too with experts, not me, someone else who's an expert in well-being and mental health, if you choose to join that. And then we'll have a WhatsApp community. I'm in quite a few WhatsApp groups. I'd love to have my own. I have lots of things that I like sharing with people that I don't know if everyone appreciates, but it would be great to have a community of people who will really appreciate the things that I want to share. And so I'm going to create that too. And then exclusive invites and discounts. Again, I often get given access to different events and offers from brands and things. And so I'd love to share that with the community as well. And then, if you're looking for something more, a lot of you want coaching. I do coaching, but what I've done, I've kind of added it into the Premier membership here so that it's more affordable than doing a separate coaching package on its own, although that is available too. And so within the Premier membership, you'll get 2 coaching sessions for the year, and an accountability partner, again, someone that's going to be checking in to see how you're getting on with that certain thing, and a more personalised support. And so for the standard membership, it's £59. If you join before the end of January, it's going to go up to £95 if you join after that. And then the Premier membership is £395 if you join by the end of January, but it will go up to £499. So, if it is of interest, I say there's no pressure, but do take a look. And there are also some other benefits to those of you who are on the webinar today. So there's a guided audio experience about redefining success, and it's just me talking about different things. Again, great thing to kind of stop and start as and when you need it. And then for those of you who attended Navigating Crossroads Live in November last year, we're going to be doing another one in November 2026. And so if you become a member of the collective and you were here today on the webinar, you will get free entry to that, because we are going to be charging for it next year. This year it was free if you signed up. I think it was £5, sorry, if you signed up before the very near to the event, but it'll be a bit more next year. So if you're a member of the collective, you will also get access to that for free. So yeah, this is just a summary of what it is today, and just the QR code there again if you want to join. All right, I've been speaking a lot, but I really want to see if there are any questions in the chat box. If you have anything, do please put it in there. I'd love to answer the question. It could be about confidence. It could be about some of the frameworks that we've spoken about today, or anything that you think is going to be helpful. If you put it in the chat, I will answer that. And while you're thinking of questions, I've run over time a little bit, but hopefully you can stay with me for the next 5 minutes. I shouldn't be too much longer. But like I said before, I have lots of things that I like to share with my network on WhatsApp, but also on LinkedIn and Instagram. And I just wanted to share it with you today also. I will be sharing this deck with all of you by email, but I read a lot of books and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and these really help me to learn new frameworks, to feel really confident. So I've listed here my top 6 books, and all of these books I love. And I'm going to read the 10X rule again, actually, because I just think it's so great in terms of, making me be bolder and really lean into some of the things I want to deliver. But I mentioned Atomic Habits. It's a great book in terms of small steps and being consistent with your actions. The 10x rule, again, if you want to 10x your life, man, this book is just brilliant. I just loved it, and I had it on audiobook too. You all love Shonda Rhimes and the Year of Yes. Again, we often put our barriers up. This book really gets you to see that, you can take down those barriers. It's a really nice book, and we just love Shonda Rhimes and all that she has achieved in life. The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, and I've also put her on the podcast list because she's got a great podcast. But this really is let them. You do what you're doing over there. It's not going to stop me over here. Like I said about the road rage, let you cut me up if you want to cut me up. It's not going to impact me. Yeah, this is what the let them theory is all about. And I think we do let others control our actions and our emotions so much. And this is a really great way for women, especially, to navigate people pleasing and external pressures. Brené Brown, again, is a brilliant one. Again, look her up on YouTube as well. She's got some really brilliant videos around being brave and vulnerable, around values and courage. So, yeah, for any of you who are maybe looking to step into leadership or anything like that, I think she's got some really great insights to share. She's just a lovely woman. And then You Are a Badass. Yeah, this one is really about helping you feel motivated. To anyone who is maybe feeling slightly lacking of confidence, this is also a really good book to take a look at as well. And for me, again, time poor, so I'd often buy the book and then just buy the audio book and just play it while I'm traveling or in the car. So that's another little tip. And I love a podcast. This is what I often share, different little episodes that I just love. And I listen to Jay Shetty a lot. He's my new fave. And I listen to one at the weekend, quite often the Saturday or Sunday morning when I'm doing my cleaning. I'll have a podcast on. And I listened to one the other day, and it was of a guy called, I'm going to get his name wrong again. I think it was Dan, wasn't it, Monica? Maybe put it in the chat. I told Monica about it. It was so good. Maybe I'll find it before. But yeah, it was all around what we're talking about today, small steps, mindset. It's brilliant. He's also a podcaster himself, and it was a really great one. I think it was about 2 or 3 episodes down. But take a look at Jay Shetty on Purpose, a really great podcast. Mel Robbins, as I mentioned before, she's great. I think sometimes she's a bit high energy for me. She just talks a bit too screechy, but she's good. But I just have little breaks from her sometimes. So I haven't been listening to her for the last couple of months, but I will go back to her. And then the new one that I really like is Grace Beverley, Working Hard. And this is really more for kind of working careers, entrepreneurs, etc. Really good as well. And she has brilliant speakers. And she had the owner of Topicals, the cosmetics that are in Sephora. I shared it with some people. Maybe some of you got it from me, but that was brilliant. So inspiring. She's like a 25-year-old Black woman, and she is killing it. But the conversation they had together was great. Oh, and the other lady recently that she had on there was a woman that used to head up Vogue magazine. Again, I did a post about it on Instagram. My brain fog with names these days is not great. I'm going to try and find it while I'm talking to you. But yeah, Grace Beverley has some really good speakers on her podcast. I'd definitely recommend her. Stephen Bartlett, he's very well known, but again, I'm falling out of love with him. But some of his earlier podcasts are really good. Oh yes, the woman that she spoke to, Grace Beverley, was Vanessa Kinkori. She is an amazing woman as well, a Black woman who was killing it and working with some brilliant brands. And she's also, I think, half Catetian, which I just love. She had a little video of herself on Instagram with her and her son in St. Kitts, which I thought was great because I didn't know that she was a Catetian. Anyways, I'm rambling on now. The last one here is Therapy for Black Girls, another really wonderful podcast, which I highly recommend. Okie doke. Any questions before I go on to the last slide? Kenyan and Catetian, thank you. Yes, the Vogue editor. Yeah, Faye, brilliant, 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 brilliant woman. I'm happy that you guys have got it. Rob Dahl, thank you, Monica. Rob Dahl's got a great podcast as well, Mindset Mentor. So if anyone wants to share any other books or podcasts, pop it in the chat. Now is the time. Because again, this is what the community is about. On that WhatsApp group, we're going to be sharing things like this with each other. Okay, what a great space to be able to do that. Okay, last few slides. I didn't see any questions, so that means that you guys don't need me, which is wonderful, and I'm running over time anyway. So what next? I want you to write down one word you want to carry into 2026. I'd love to hear it. I've got quite a few words, but the top one on top of my mind right now is ask. I am going to be asking for everything I want and asking people for the things that I want, my wildest ambitions. I'm not going to be scared. I often hold back. I want to ask a question. I want to ask for something. Sponsorship is going to be top of my list. But often, I want someone to come and speak on a webinar or on a, with me, and I'm scared to ask them because maybe I could get Vanessa to come and join a webinar, like someone like that. I'd just love to do certain things with. Anyway, that's my one word is ask. But tell us, what is your one word you're carrying to 2026? I'd love to know. And also one action I can commit to this month. And that is, again, back to those small steps. I'm going to keep asking you about those small steps. All right. One action you can commit to doing. Okay. That is going to move you towards your next step. Yeah. For 2026. Other actions. If you're interested, you can download the blueprint. You can join the collective. Or if you're interested in coaching, you can book a discovery call, because before I do any of my coaching, the discovery call is really important to understand what you're trying to get out of it and what I bring and my coaching style, and then we can move on from there. So for all of those things, please, use the QR code, or you can just go to the website, communicatingconclusively.com. All right, so that is it. The last slide is just to say thank you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for choosing you, because the session was all about you, and I spoke a lot about me, but really it was all about you. Okay, so I really appreciate you taking the time out to be here. Okay, so let me just have another quick look in the chat. I'm loving the words. Look at this, look at this, look at this. And the books in here. New Methods for Women. Check that book out. I haven't heard of that one, so I might check it out myself. These 5 questions are now in my notebook. Brilliant. Start your journaling. Yeah, energizing session. Thank you so much, Crystal. May have misspelled. I don't know. Is that a book? Okay, I need to check that one out. You may have misspelled something. Sorry. Maybe that's what it was. Anyway, the words: sponsorship. No, that's my word. Discernment. Self-trust. When will the collective launch? Yes, I mean, it's launching now. We've had one person sign up formally, so it's live now. If you join, you're going to get your welcome email and get access to the portal and get joined into the WhatsApp group. So yeah, join as soon as you can, and we can get more people together on there creating this community. 2 words: do it. I love it. Just do it, like Nike, right? Make magic happen. That's for me. Yeah, you can make it happen, Faye. Anything you decide to do, we are in control of our own destiny, right? Yeah, thank you all for joining. It has been amazing. How does one get over redundancy from previous job, even though they are doing well in the current one? That is such a great question. So even though you've got another job, still hanging on to the feelings from being made redundant. Do you know what? Like I said before, I think it's linked to the identity and attachment that we had to that job. I think you need to understand and break down what is it? What is the fear? What is the bad feeling? Because I said, when I was made redundant, it's many years ago, but I didn't realize how attached I was to that job title until I lost it. And so, yeah, I want you to unpick that as to why do you think it's still impacting you now, even though you've got a new job. Think about it, write it down, and if you want to message me, I wouldn't mind talking through that with you. So yeah, please do that. Another word: gratitude. Yeah, what a brilliant word. Thank you. It's hard times. Let me tell you, that redundancy question is going to keep coming up, because there are more redundancies coming. So for anyone who is feeling like the energy is a bit weird in their office, I urge you to prepare, because it might not be you. I'm hoping it isn't you, but I know that economically there's going to be more redundancies happening throughout 2026. So if anyone's getting a vibe from their employer, get onto LinkedIn, get that CV sorted out, be prepared. Okay, start saving some money, that emergency pot. But yeah, thank you, everyone. That is the end. Thank you for everyone who posted in the chat. I'm loving the fearless one. What a great word to end on. We're going to send you the slides. We'll send you the link to the recording. And do please feel free to reach out to me. Please follow me on LinkedIn. I was going to share lots of bits and pieces on that. So yeah, take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. It's been amazing being with you tonight. Bye now.